My girlfriend cheated with my twin brother, and I'm still not sure which part broke me more. I used to joke that being an identical twin was like being born with a built-in glitch. Most days you don't notice it. Life runs fine. Then a mirror catches you from a weird angle, and you remember the code underneath your face got copy-pasted. I'm Evan. My twin is Noah. We're not the synchronized speech kind of twins or the feel each other's pain mystics. We're the other kind. Two different people who happen to present to the world like a spot the difference puzzle. My mother insists she could tell us apart from day one. Noah came out loud, she says in the family myth retellings, and Evan came out looking like he was reading the room. That tracks. He's always been the extrovert, the charmer, the first to volunteer, the last to leave. I'm the other one, the guy who buys extra batteries before the storm and files his taxes in February because chaos makes my skin itch. Growing up, the world wanted us as a set. Coaches, teachers, well-meaning neighbors, the twins, like we were a single animal with two heads. It's not malicious, it's just lazy. And when you spend your whole childhood introduced as a unit, you learn to specialize. Noah went loud, I went precise. He got theater and varsity soccer, I got debate and a job in IT. I still love because computers don't ask you to be charming, just consistent. If you need a quick sketch, Noah is the guy who makes a bartender remember his name. I'm the guy who knows the bartender's schedule because I looked at Google Maps' usually busy chart and picked the quiet hour. He wears cologne that claims to smell like midnight rain. I smell like laundry detergent and coffee. He can flirt with a lamp. I can fix a lamp. We've had our twin nonsense moments, obviously. Driver's ed instructor who insisted we were switching seats to mess with him. We weren't. College RA who thought we were pranking the dorm by pretending to have two rooms. Girls at parties who thought it was hilarious to test us. It's always hilarious until it's your life. To his credit, Noah always shut that down. Until he didn't. But that comes later. Everything does. I met Leah on a Tuesday. I remember because my calendar says, lunch outside, in hopeful lowercase letters, like the sun was a task I might forget to check off. I was eating a sandwich on the low wall outside our office when she walked out of the building next door, juggling a tote bag, a laptop, and one of those ridiculous water bottles that could hydrate a horse. Hair up, sunglasses on, business casual in a way that looked like she'd wrestled a blazer and won. She tripped on an uneven brick, saved the water bottle with a reflex worthy of a Marvel origin story, and then laughed at herself so genuinely I smiled before I decided to. Do you work here? She asked, regaining dignity with a shrug. Do you also hate fluorescent lighting? Deeply, I said, because truth is easy when it's about light bulbs. She sat on the wall like we were old friends who always share this spot. 10 minutes turned into 45, and the beginning of a thing I didn't know how to want until it was happening. Leah is one of those people you don't notice at first because she doesn't perform her existence for you. Then she says something sharp and kind in the same sentence, and you realize you're moving your chair closer. She does brand strategy, which I understand as verbal judo for corporations, and can explain to you why 3 shades of blue make different kinds of people trust you. She is allergic to cilantro, drama, and girls' trip group chats that demand themed outfits. She reads books with spines so cracked they look like they survive storms. She can parallel park like a stunt driver. She once negotiated down our internet bill by saying, "I'm about to hang up and try again, should I?" And the rep said, "No, let me fix it." When I introduced Leah to my family, the reaction felt weirdly like a pass-fail test I hadn't registered for. My mom loved her immediately because Leah asked about her childhood in Milwaukee and actually listened to the answer. My dad loved her because she knew the difference between a crescent wrench and a pry bar and pretended not to notice when he told the same story twice. Noah loved her because everyone loves Leah. He gave me a look the first time she wasn't looking, a little half smile that said, "You did good, man." It felt like being knighted. The golden twin had given me his blessing. Yes, I hear it. I hate that I needed it. If you're reading this waiting for the first red flag, you're going to be disappointed. There wasn't one. Not in the blood on the carpet, lipstick on the collar way. What there was, a collection of small kindnesses. Leah texting me a picture of a pug in a sweater when I was in a meeting I hated. Me buying her the stupidly specific oat milk she likes because the label has a cartoon cow flexing. Sharing an umbrella and pretending the sidewalk is ours. Love for me has always been cumulative math. Not fireworks, but deposits. Noah and Leah clicked in the way my life had taught me to appreciate and dread. He's good with people. So is she. He makes other people's stories feel like headlines. She makes other people's headlines feel like stories. The first time we all grabbed drinks together, they spent 15 minutes talking about a minor league baseball team's rebrand, while I sat there foolishly proud of both of them. The second time, Leah sent a meme to our new group chat, Bros plus Leah, her title, her humor. And Noah replied with a voice note impersonating our dad's Midwestern outrage voice. I saved it because I'm sentimental like that. In every photo from those months, I'm the one taking it. They're side by side, smiling, a clean, wholesome image I used to look at and think, my life is good. Oh, here's a thing about being the quiet twin that'll make sense later. People tell you you're grounded so often you start thinking it's an identity, not a posture. You become the ground, the floor they stand on, the surface that holds the furniture. You think reliable is a compliment, and it is, until it's an assignment. Because once you're the ground, what are people supposed to do on you except stand, jump, dance, put weight down? It's not malicious, but floors crack. Noah and I drifted a little the year before Leah. Not a fight, he just accelerated. He got a sales job with travel and hotel room key cards that multiplied like playing cards in his backpack. He lived out of a suitcase and liked the way it made him feel important. He dated messily in a way that made me both jealous and tired. He'd crash on my couch between flights, half hungover, and tell me stories about airport bars and women with complicated laughs. I'd say, be careful, in the voice of a guy who thinks maybe caution is contagious. He'd grin and ask if he could borrow my phone charger. We're not the talk about feelings brothers. We're the need help moving a couch. Brothers, it's fine until it isn't. When Leah and I moved in together, 9 months after the wall, 5 months after my lease ended, one December afternoon that smelled like wet cardboard and pizza, Noah helped. He carried boxes like they were proving something. He installed our TV on the wall because I get nervous when power tools meet drywall. He labeled the breaker box TV Joy in Sharpie. Leah made a sandwich assembly line, and we ate on the floor because chairs were still theoretical. Noah left that night with a hug for her and a fake headbutt for me, and a proud of you, Ev. I stood in the doorway, watching his taillights, and felt embarrassingly lucky. The first time Leah accidentally called me Noah, we were watching a documentary about bee colonies. We're cool, please relax. Sucky, she said it under her breath. Lazy, the way you say babe or hey. Noah, pass the... And then she froze. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I laughed because that's what you do when your brain's trying to triage a spill. My whole family does it, I said. Half the county does it. You got it out of the way. Now you're immune. She looked stricken until I made a dumb joke about bees calling each other the wrong names. She let it go. So did I. We were happy. You're allowed to be sloppy around joy. Another time, we ran into Noah at the farmer's market. He was with a woman I'd never met, hair in a scarf, eating a peach like it owed her money. He did introductions like he was emceeing the sun. Leah, this is Alina. She's smarter than me. Alina, this is Leah. She's with the better twin. We all laughed because the joke is a reflex. Later in the car, Leah said, I like your brother with someone who doesn't need him to be a show. I said, me too. Alina lasted 3 weeks. He said she wanted something serious. I bit my tongue hard enough to taste pennies. I won't catalog every ordinary, wonderful thing Leah and I built because it'll turn this into a scrapbook and you'll start rolling your eyes. But I need you to understand the baseline. We weren't fragile. We weren't fighting. No one was starving for something. I'm not auditioning for sainthood. I messed up too. I forgot important dates. I got snappy when work ate my brain. She brushed crumbs off the counter with her hand, and it made me irrationally furious, like I was the HOA for our kitchen. She stored cereal in the fridge, because it stays crunchy. I rotated our towels so they wore evenly. We were two specific people doing the us dance and tripping sometimes in a way that made us laugh. We were fine. Better than fine. The first hairline crack I can point to without lying to myself. A family barbecue at my parents' in May. The suburbs do this thing in late spring, where every lawn looks like it was copy and pasted from a catalog, and grills smell like amnesty. There were cousins, lawn chairs, potato salad, uncles telling jokes that belonged to 2003. Leah stood with my mom at the folding table plating corn. Noah stood just behind them, telling a story about getting stuck overnight in Detroit because of weather, which I now know is a generous term. Leah laughed at something he said, really laughed, head back. He put a hand on her shoulder the way people do when they're punctuating a moment with touch. My chest did a tiny, stupid clench. It wasn't jealousy, it was recognition. They were fluent in each other's rhythm. I told myself it was because she was fluent in people, and he was people with a capital P. I took the trash out like a hero and didn't look too long. There were little things, always little. The group chat that went off some nights when I was showering, and Leah would smile at her phone and type fast and lock the screen when I walked in because she is that person who locks screens. The way I am that person who alphabetizes spices. Noah borrowing Leah's book and texting her photos of underlined lines like they were code he wanted her to help him solve. Leah asking me if Noah's flight landed because his typing bubble had vanished mid-story. Me becoming the conduit because that's what twins do. We pass messages through the membrane. One Saturday in July, Leah and I were at a friend's rooftop thing, the kind with fairy lights and music that makes you tap your finger against your glass. Noah texted me a selfie him and a guy from his office, blurry hotel bar lighting, captioned, "Send help." I showed Leah. She took my phone and typed back a ridiculous sticker of a dancing avocado because she and my brother had, by then, a whole bit about my low tolerance for guacamole. He replied instantly, "Tell Elle to stop bullying my palate." Elle, maybe that should have registered as intimacy. It didn't. They were close. I liked that. I liked that my girlfriend liked my brother. The alternative was so much worse. Is it? Ask me again in a minute. Twins are weird in photos. There's this uncanny valley where, if you catch us from the right angle, you can fit our faces together like Lego. Sometimes I look at Leah's camera roll over her shoulder. She takes pictures to remember, and also to prove to herself later that she had a good time. And there'd be this accidental gallery. Me laughing, Noah talking, my mom passing lemonade, Leah's foot curled under her on a chair, Noah's hand mid-gesture, my hand on Leah's back. Leah's face turned toward Noah because he was telling a story like, he gets paid for it. If you print enough of those out and stick them on a wall, the pattern starts to look like a narrative. In real time, it looked like a family. We hit our 2-year mark in August. Leah booked a cabin by a lake that looked photoshopped. We did nothing for 3 days, in a way that feels luxurious to people who normally narrate their schedules in shared calendars. We grilled mushrooms like they were the main event, read on the dock, swam when the sun bullied us into moving. On the last night, we took a selfie I still haven't deleted. Sun-stupid faces, hair wild, the kind of smile you only make when you're not trying to be somebody's idea of photogenic. I posted it because I am not a poster, but I wanted a tiny brag. Noah commented, "Look at these obscenely content swamp raccoons," because he refuses to be normal about anything. I texted him, "Jealous?" He replied, "Of your algae? Never." Leah read that and said, "Your brother loves you. The way people say the weather is nice when it is. You want me to say I saw it? You want me to tell you I felt the shift in the air like animals do before earthquakes?" I didn't. I felt lucky. And luck is a sleeping thing, you don't poke it. The day everything started for real, I mean the day that will become the hinge, was a nothing Tuesday in September. At lunch, Leah texted, "Hate to ask, can you drop the keys with Noah later? He's borrowing the stepladder to hang curtains, and I have to stay late." Normal words, normal life. I said, "Yep." At 6:40 p.m., I swung by Noah's place on my way to the gym, climbed the 3 flights, his building is allergic to elevators, and found his door propped open with a sneaker like an invitation to thieves. I knocked on the frame like a sitcom neighbor. No answer. I stepped in, set the keys on the entry table with the bowl of coins, and the random IKEA screw every man in his 30s has. "Yo," I said in the tone of someone who knows the other person is definitely home because their backpack is on the chair and their jacket is on the couch. The bathroom door was half open, light on, fan humming. "Keys are on the table," I called, already backing toward the hallway, trying to respect privacy while also trying to confirm the human I was yelling at could hear me. My phone buzzed work. I fished for it, glanced down, wrote, "There in 10, looked up." Leah walked out of the bathroom, hair towel twisted, wearing the t-shirt I left at her place the first month we dated. We looked at each other for a full second before my brain caught up to my eyes. There's a trick identical twins know. You can watch recognition travel in someone else's face. Confusion first, then the scramble to arrange a reaction, then relief or panic. On Leah, it was shock, then calculation, then a smile that wasn't a smile. "Oh," she said. "Hey." Like I'd interrupted her in our hallway. My stomach fell through the floor. There is a sound your body makes when the narrative you're living rips. It's not a whisper or a shout. It's like metal shearing in slow motion. I looked for Noah out of reflex. He was not there. The apartment smelled like his shampoo and her lotion and a lie that had been stretching for. I told him, "How long?" My mouth said, "What are you doing here?" in a voice I did not recognize as mine. She blinked, put her fingers to her hair like the towel needed adjusting, and said the sentence that will never leave my skull. "It's not what it looks like." I laughed. It came out wrong. "Is it not?" I asked, already backing away, keys abandoned, phone in my pocket, buzzing like a life raft I suddenly couldn't touch. Her eyes did that pleading thing, the one that had worked on me for 2 years in 100 tiny ways. "Let me explain. Give me a minute. I'm good at fixing things." She stepped forward. I stepped back. The sneaker in the doorway squeaked against the floor like a warning. Noah's voice floated from the bedroom then, casual, like he was calling from the kitchen in my apartment. Like my name was a sound he could make in any room. "Leah, did you?" He appeared in the doorway, bare-chested, too familiar, 10 feet and a lifetime away. His face did a magic trick. Confusion, recognition, horror, all within a fraction of a second. "Ev," he said. "Man," I left. Not dramatically. I just turned and walked down the stairs because my body understood something my brain didn't yet. There's nothing to say in the moment of impact. Words are for the autopsy. On the second floor landing, my knees remembered how to be knees and forgot at the same time. I sat down on the ugly carpet that every stairwell in America has and stared at a fire extinguisher until my breathing decided to be a team player again. My phone vibrated like it was trying to jump out of my pocket. I didn't look. I stared at my shoes and thought the stupidest, realest thing. Those are my laces. Those are my socks. Those are my legs. Re-anchoring. If you've ever fainted in public, you know the drill. Noah's door didn't slam, it clicked. He came down the stairs barefoot because, of course, sat 3 steps above me like the lighting crew had blocked this scene in advance, and said, "Ev, and then nothing, because there is no sentence that makes that okay. We sat in that hallway breathing. Somebody opened their door at the end of the corridor, saw 2 men who are one man sitting on the stairs looking like a before and after ad for Heartbreak, and closed it again like the building had a policy. Eventually I stood up. "Don't follow me," I said, and it came out so flat and so controlled it scared me a little. He didn't. He nodded once, hard. I walked out into a sky that had the audacity to be pretty and found my car and sat in it with my keys in my palm like a talisman and turned the engine on so the AC could do something competent. The first person I called was not Leah and not Noah and not my mother. It was my friend Ash, who answers the phone like a firefighter. "I need you to tell me if I'm awake," I said. He did the thing where you ask where someone is and then you go there. I sat in a parking space listening to the world-to-world sounds while my relationship slid down to some lower layer of reality where it would start decaying and decompose. Ash drove me to his place and put a glass of water in my hand like a stage direction. He didn't ask questions. He watched me like you watch a complicated download bar, helpless, patient. I said, "Leah is at Noah's," because nouns and prepositions were all I could manage. He said very quietly, then, okay, then, we're going to do this one piece at a time. The first piece is always the ugly one. The inventory of recent memories that instantly rot. Leah's late nights at work. Noah's texts stuck at the airport. The group chat jokes that feel different when you rotate them under this new light. The time she mixed up a story and corrected herself so fast I filed it under stress and not under lie. The towel on Noah's shoulder once when we FaceTimed and Leah said, "Nice towel," too casually. The B documentary Noah that we turned into a joke because jokes are more fun than probability. Noah called once, twice, 3 times. I didn't answer. Leah texted paragraphs. I didn't open them. I slept on Ash's couch like your body sleeps after anesthesia. Chemical, ugly, necessary. In the morning, I drove back to the apartment I shared with a person who had been double living. I stood in the kitchen and looked at the dumb magnets and the list on the whiteboard that said eggs, light bulbs, stamps. And I put my wallet and the spare car key and the watch Leah gave me for my birthday into my pockets like I was checking out of a hotel. She came home mid-morning. I heard her keys in the lock and felt nothing until I saw her face. That's when rage arrived. Not the screaming kind, the cold kind that makes you precise. She started crying before the door was fully closed. "Evan," she said, voice shredded, "please let me explain." I said, "How long?" Because that is the only question that pretends to help. "Not long," she said, in the tone of someone guessing. "A few weeks." She looked at my face, recalculated. "Okay, a couple months." She touched the back of a chair like she needed furniture to bless her words. It wasn't supposed to happen. It's always that line, like cheating is a slip and fall incident at the grocery store. "You didn't happen to sleep with my brother," I said. "You scheduled it." She flinched. "I love you," she said. And the audacity of that sentence made something in me finally snap. "No," I said, not loudly, like a diagnosis. "You love how I don't ask you to be exciting. You love how safe this house is. You love that I make lists. You loved him too, because he makes you feel like a movie. You love the feeling. You don't love us." She started listing reasons. Reasons are a kindness you give yourself when you've hurt someone else. You inventory them so you don't have to look at the one big one. "We were drunk that first time," she said. "We were talking about you. He's so lonely sometimes, Evan. I wanted to tell you, I swear, I didn't know how. I thought maybe I was confused because you and Noah..." She stopped herself. She saw my face go to ice. "Because we look alike," I said. "Leah." My name like a slammed door. "It wasn't that," she said fast. "I know your face. I know your voice. It wasn't that." I believe her. That almost made it worse. If this had been a mistaken identity farce, I could fold it into a headline. Wild twin caper destroys man's life. It wasn't. It was the smaller, more devastating thing. She knew exactly who we each were, and she chose anyway. When Noah came by later, of course he did, because men like us are trained to present ourselves for beatings we deserve. I made him stand in the hallway. He said Ev like we were starting a Zoom. I looked at his face, the face that got me out of fights when we were kids, the face that made teachers forgive me late homework because they liked him more, the face I've shaved in a mirror across from, and I felt like I was visiting a museum exhibit titled, "Here Lies Your Shared Childhood." How long? I asked him. He did the calendar math on his eyes. 10 weeks, he said. He didn't elaborate into months the way Leah had. Did you use my name? I asked because Spite wanted something stupid and exact. His head snapped up. What? No. Jesus, Ev. He looked actually offended, which would be funny if it didn't make my skin feel too tight. It wasn't like that, he said, and then caught himself. Because what was it like then, exactly? I asked the other questions you ask when you want to wound yourself into being done. My birthday? No. My parents' house? No. Did you talk about me? Silence, of course they did. Everybody orders the absent person when they cheat inside a family. He finally said, sometimes, not like that. We were trying to figure out what the hell we were doing. What you were doing, I said, was avoiding gravity. We had the fight you have when you want to ruin something, so you don't have to admit it already ruined itself. We did the twin thing where we threw childhood at each other like rocks. You've always been, you never, Mom always, in high school when, the greatest hits. He said, you think you're better because you're careful. I said, you think you're special because strangers like you. He said, you got Leah because you got there first. That one landed like a good punch. I had to sit down on the radiator because oxygen got complicated. He said he was sorry. I said being sorry is the bare minimum and also insufficient. He said he didn't know how to fix it. I said you don't. Then I closed the door because I could feel that if I kept it open, I would ask him to sit on the couch like nothing fundamental had shifted. And I am old enough now to know not to betray myself in my own house. Leah moved out 2 days later. She took her books, her impossible water bottle, the sweater I loved. She left a plant I still have because I am petty and also because it's alive. She cried in the doorway for a full minute, then stopped, like someone had cut the sound. I am so sorry, she said. I know, I said, because that was true. I wish I were a worse person so you could get over me faster, she added. And there it was, the self-mythology you reach for when you want to make your own villainy noble. I didn't grant it. I'll get over you at the speed I choose, I said. After she left, I sat on the floor and made 2 lists. Things I know. I was loved. I was lied to. Those can be true at the same time. Things I don't. Whether my brother and I will be brothers again. Whether I am the version of myself I thought I was in a relationship, or just the version that hadn't yet been asked to be someone else's alibi. That was day 0. The blast radius is bigger. The explanations, the family fallout, the way grief becomes logistics becomes silence. It's all next. But if this is going to read like a real story, it needs the ordinary details. The way the apartment sounded at midnight without her, the way my phone rang with Noah's name, and my thumb hovered and hovered and hovered. The way my mother texted, call me when you can, like she didn't know which of her sons was bleeding and which one had the knife. I slept maybe an hour that night. The next morning I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and made myself say my own name out loud, Evan, until it felt like something I could carry alone. The morning after I found them, I stood in front of the mirror and said my name again, Evan. It didn't feel like a name anymore. It felt like a label on an empty box. I didn't go to work, didn't call anyone. I just sat on the couch staring at the dent on the cushion where Leah used to sit, the one shaped like her legs crossed under her. It's strange what your brain fixates on when your world collapses. Not the big questions like why or how, but the small, useless ones. Did she wash her hands after touching him? Did she ever look at me and see my brother's face instead? When my phone started ringing again, Noah this time, I let it buzz until it went silent. Then it started again, then Leah, then Mom, then Dad. I turned it off. By noon, someone was knocking on my door. I didn't answer. Then the knocking turned into pounding. It was my mother's voice that finally made me move. Evan, honey, open up, please. She must have looked a wreck, but she didn't cry when I let her in. She just stood there, gripping her purse like it was a lifeline. Noah called me, she said. He told me what happened. I wanted to tell her to stop talking, to not ruin the silence I was trying to survive in, but she kept going. He's devastated. I laughed, and it came out like a bark. He's devastated? I said. That's good. It's nice to know we can share something again. She flinched, but she didn't scold me. Mom's always been the mediator, the kind of person who thinks everything can be fixed if you talk long enough. He knows he made a terrible mistake, she said carefully. And Leah, don't, I said, just that. And she stopped. She sat beside me and took my hand. You don't have to forgive him, she said finally, but you have to live. Don't let them take that too. It sounded like something out of a self-help book, but it stuck. Don't let them take that too. She left after making me promise I'd eat something. I didn't, but I poured cereal into a bowl just to feel like I'd kept my word. Families don't keep secrets, not real ones. By that evening, my cousin Jess had texted me, WTF, and my uncle had called to check in. I didn't answer. Then came the friends. The messages piled up, each one a variation of disbelief. Wait, your brother? Is this for real? Man, that's brutal. You okay? It's funny how many people ask if you're okay when what they really mean is, tell me the story. Ash handled most of it. He told people I was taking space, which I guess was true, if space meant the void between two lives. Then there was Leah's post. She didn't say much, just a gray photo of the ocean with the caption, "Sometimes love ends in ways you can't explain." Noah commented a single heart emoji. I stared at that heart until my vision blurred. My hands shook so hard I had to set my phone down. My first instinct was to throw it, but rage like that only makes you feel alive for a second before it leaves you emptier. I sat there instead, breathing, tasting salt, realizing it wasn't from the ocean. Dad's not a talker. He's the kind of man who fixes broken things with duct tape and silence. But that night he called me. I don't know what to say, he admitted. I don't even know if I should be saying anything. Then don't, I said, because I couldn't take one more apology that wasn't mine. He sighed. Your brother, he's not doing great. Good, I said. He shouldn't be. Evan, his voice dropped. He made a mistake, but he's still your brother. Not anymore. There was a long pause, then he said, when you boys were little, you used to build those Lego towers together. One of you would stack too high, and the other would catch the pieces when they fell. That's what brothers do. Yeah, I said, and then one of them decided to knock it over instead. He didn't argue, just sighed again, heavy and old. You're both my sons, he said, but I understand if you don't want to hear from me for a while. That was the last thing he said before hanging up. 3 days later, Noah showed up anyway. I didn't open the door. I just watched him through the peephole, standing there, shoulders slumped, eyes red, holding a six-pack of the beer we used to share in college. The brand we called Brother Beer. The bastard. He stood there for a full minute before he said, I'll just leave this here. And he did. He left it on the mat like an offering. When I opened the door later, it was still cold. I picked it up, stared at the label, and poured it all down the sink. It felt like a baptism that didn't take. For weeks, I didn't sleep properly. I'd close my eyes and see their faces. Hers soft with guilt, his slack with panic. Sometimes I dream I was looking in the mirror, and it wasn't me staring back, it was him. The worst part wasn't the images. It was the thoughts that followed, the what-ifs. What if she fell for him before she ever fell for me? What if it was never about me, but about the novelty of choosing one twin over the other? What if she liked him because he was me, just louder, shinier, easier to love? Identity becomes a cruel joke when the person you trusted most confuses your reflection for an upgrade. A month in, Mom called again. She said Noah and Leah weren't together anymore. Apparently, the affair imploded under the weight of its own guilt. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel anything. Do you want to come home for dinner? She asked. No, I said. Not if he's there. He won't be. So I went. Dinner was quiet. My dad barely looked at me, probably out of guilt for looking like him. My mom made chicken and mashed potatoes, the default meal for when she doesn't know what else to fix. Halfway through, she said, he's trying to make things right. I put my fork down. There's no right left to make. I know, but he wants to apologize in person. Tell him to write a letter, I said. I'll burn it when I get home. Mom's eyes filled, but she didn't cry. I think she finally realized this wasn't a temporary fracture. It was structural. The email came a few days later. Subject, if you'll let me. It was 5 paragraphs long. I read it once, then again, then I deleted it. But here's what it said, as best as I can remember. Evan, I know I don't deserve to ask for anything, but please let me tell you the truth. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. It started when I went to your parents' house alone one afternoon to pick something up for your mom. Noah was there. We talked for hours. I think we both felt understood. It was a mistake, but it felt like connection. I kept trying to stop it, but it was like gravity. Please don't hate him more than you hate me. He was lost too. We didn't plan to fall. I miss you. I miss us. You were my home. I'll love you always, even if it's from far away. Leah. I didn't respond, but I did something stupid. I printed it, folded it, put it in my desk drawer like evidence of a crime I couldn't prosecute. Sometimes when I couldn't sleep, I'd take it out just to make sure it still hurt. 2 months later, I saw them together. It was at the grocery store, the one I'd avoided for weeks because I knew the odds. I was reaching for pasta when I heard her laugh, that soft, too familiar sound that used to mean safety. I froze. They were in the next aisle, talking quietly, not holding hands, but close. Close enough that anyone else would have thought they were just friends. But I knew better. I ducked into the freezer section and hid behind the frosted glass, breathing like I'd run a marathon. They didn't see me, but when they walked past the aisle, I caught her reflection in the glass. Her face turned toward him, soft again, almost peaceful. Like betrayal hadn't just destroyed 2 families. That was the moment I decided I didn't want to hate them forever. Not for their sake, for mine. Because hate is a leash, and I was tired of being dragged. Ash dragged me out of the apartment after that. "You've been haunting yourself," he said. "We're going out. You're showering, you're putting on clean clothes, and you're letting someone else talk for a change." He took me to a dive bar we used to go to in college. Sticky floors, jukebox, neon sign that flickered like it had PTSD. He didn't bring up Leah or Noah once. We just drank, played darts, talked about the time we almost set the kitchen on fire trying to make flaming shots. For 3 hours I felt normal. Then a girl at the bar smiled at me. I smiled back, not because I wanted her, but because I could, because it didn't feel impossible anymore. Weeks later, I visited my parents again. Noah was there. It wasn't planned. Mom's oops sounded too rehearsed. We stood in the driveway staring at each other like strangers who shared a face. He looked older, tired, smaller somehow. "I didn't come here to fight," he said. "Then don't." He nodded. "I'm sorry for all of it. I know. I miss you, man." That one hit, not because I wanted him back, but because I knew he meant it. "I miss who we were," I said, "but I don't think we're ever going to be those people again." He nodded. "I'll take what I can get." We shook hands. It felt weird, like shaking hands with a reflection. Mom cried from the kitchen window. I started therapy after that. At first I hated it. Sitting in a small room talking about feelings made my skin itch. But week by week, something shifted. My therapist, Dr. Patel, told me something I still think about. "Betrayal doesn't destroy who you are," she said. "It just removes who you thought you were in relation to others." That line stuck, because that's exactly what it felt like I'd been rewritten without consent. So I started writing myself again. I picked up photography, something Leah always said she'd teach me but never did. I started hiking with Ash, taking photos of fog, leaves, trees that looked like they'd survived worse storms than me. I deleted Leah's number, finally threw away that printed email, and one night I went into my contacts and deleted Noah's name too. Not out of hate, out of release. Because sometimes closure isn't a conversation, it's a delete button. A year later, I was at a coffee shop downtown, editing photos. Someone sat next to me. She was reading The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. She dropped her bookmark, and I picked it up. "Thanks," she said, smiling. We talked for a bit. Her name was Erin. She worked at a nonprofit, hated kale smoothies, loved thunderstorms. I didn't tell her about Leah, or Noah, or any of it, not yet. But when she laughed, something in me didn't flinch, and that felt like healing.